Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our TNA show for the week. My name is George Coles and I'm riding solo on this one. First up, we have Austin Aries and Bobby Roode talking about basically why each one's going to win the Battle for Glory series. Good little opener. Leads to Bobby Roode versus Hernandez in a match that the fans picked. Out of all the matches with the Battle for Glory guys, it kind of feels like what was left over. To be honest, really, who picks Hernandez to fight anybody? Is he anybody's favorite at this point? Bobby Roode, I'm sure is, but as you see with the other matches tonight and the match from this show and the next week's show, there was much better matches. Bobby Roode picks up a much-needed win. I agree with some of my friends that said Roode should have kept losing to where he's broken all the way down before they build him up. I agree with that statement, but I'm glad to see him pick up a win as well. He's a great character. I think he's probably, if not the best, one of the best TNA World Champions they've had. Now our next match is also a Battle for Glory match. We have Joseph Park versus Jay Bradley. Pretty clunky match, not great altogether. I'm noticing that Jay Bradley needs a certain kind of wrestler to go up against, and that's not a knock on him. I mean, the guy's not been on national TV that often. Joseph Park probably should have carried the match, but he didn't. Park picks up the win. He did have help with EY trying to channel him and stop him from blacking out and turn it into Abyss. I thought it was a clunky match, not great at all. Next we had here's where the show, I think, started to take a tail dive. We had Manic, the X Division champion, versus Chris Sabin, the World Heavyweight champion, halfway through the show. I'm sorry, folks. If your secondary champion is wrestling your main champion, that should always be the main event. I don't care who goes on after that, what reasoning you have. You know, Stone Cold versus Sting could be the main event. And that should not go over your heavyweight champion and your secondary champion. Weird placing, weird shot in the back where you see the back, TJ Perkins talking about himself and Manic. I don't know where they're going with that. I know TJ Perkins on his Twitter put that you see Captain America, or no, you see Iron Man and Tony Stark. They show him in and out of the costume, and you're okay with it. So maybe they're going that kind of route, that the suit makes him feel like a superhero. I don't know. After the match, of course, Bully Ray tries to attack. Sabin wards him off, so basically they're building Sabin to look strong. And of course, Sabin won, I'm sorry. A decent match, not bad. I just thought the placing on it was bad. Blah. Hard to say that word, huh? I'm sorry, folks. Next, before we get further down the card, let's talk about our question of the week from last week, which was, do you like the design of the X Division Championship, the new design? I've heard a lot of people compare it to the NXT belt or the old Intercontinental belt, or a mashup of the two of them. The only thing I don't like about it, I don't think it's a bad looking belt, but to me it doesn't have the same pizzazz that the old X Division title. The old X Division title was a big belt. It gave you, the big belts to me, like the big gold belt that they used for the World Championship that used to be the WCW Championship. That's impressive. The belt that Stone Cold used to wear, the circular winged eagle, that was a good looking belt. I mean, Brock Lesnar's Unified Championship, good looking belts. The smaller belts, to me, they just don't do it for me. I don't think design wise it's that horrible as everybody says. I just would like it to have been a bigger belt, in my opinion. And coming off of that, our question of the week for this week, the last 2 weeks we've had Taz has not been on commentary. Jeremy Borash has. So let us know what you think. If you like Taz, you like Borash, which one do you want to see do the permanent role with Mike Tenay? Hit us up on our Facebook, hit us up on our Twitter, put it down where? Down there in the comments. Getting back to the show, we had a match that I was actually quite looking forward to. We had ODB wrestling her first actual match on TV in a little while since she's been a Knockouts ref versus Gail Kim. I thought the match was good. I thought it was going well. Then they went to the outside. Then they had the double count out, and Kim kept beating her up, and then it lost it to me. Everything was good to the finish. The finish took so much away from the match that it just bothered me. And we seem to have the same theme going on through the show. I mean, Mannequin Satan was good. Out of all the matches on here, that was probably the best that I can state. Because the next match, we had Austin Aries versus AJ Styles. They said it was the first time they've ever met. I honestly can't remember another time, so I'm willing to go with that. I'm sure if I'm wrong, you guys will correct me. But I thought this was a dream match. It should have been a lot. I mean, the match itself was amazing. The weird finish, I think there was something wrong with the camera angle, because you almost seen the ref telling Aries to lift his arm up, or lift his shoulder up so Aries gets the pin. I like that Aries got the pin over AJ. Wasn't really expected. Just the weird way it was shot at the end. I don't know, just a little bit off, and that's basically, I mean, the whole show just had that feel, and it kept steamrolling downhill. Something that should have been great, just not that good. Then we had the fight between Main Event Mafia and Aces and Eights, and then we hear the new music for the arrival of the August 1st warning, which was very well hyped up, very well did, got a buzz going all over the internet. It was all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over the dirt sheets. Who could this be? It started something really good for them, and I'm going to cover this for quite a bit here. There's a few things before we go into that I want to mention. Full disclosure, I am an MMA fan. I like watching MMA. I've watched MMA pretty much since there was an MMA in America. Me and my friend Bill Ryan, we ordered the first UFC pay-per-view, and the second, and the third, and so on and so forth. We quite enjoyed the concept. Now, I haven't watched every pay-per-view. I don't watch every Ultimate Fighter. I don't watch every special. I don't watch all the Bellators. I watch here and there. I'm a casual fan of MMA. There's some guys that I really enjoy, and one of my favorites of all time is Tito Ortiz. I really enjoyed his style. When he was on the top, he was brash, he was cocky, and I enjoyed it. He brought interest to it. Now, coming from that, we go back to our wrestling show, and we have the August 1 warning with all the supreme hype is Tito Ortiz. If this was a standalone, it would be okay. But we already got King Mo. We already got Rampage Jackson. Now, Tito Ortiz, 3 Bellator fighters, MMA fighters that are now involved in TNA storyline. Now, King Mo hasn't been there often. He came, he did his thing, he's been gone. Rampage and Tito seem to be setting up for a prominent role. To me, they're using TNA television to hype the pay-per-view that they have set up, which if this was 2007, that pay-per-view would sell through the roof. There's a reason why these two guys aren't on UFC, the top promotion in the world. It's because they can't sell anymore. They have name value, don't get me wrong, Tito Ortiz, Rampage Jackson, they have big fan bases. This, to me, was such a kick in the face for wrestling fans. You know, we really should have known it. TNA is chicken fucking little. They run around saying the sky is falling, sky is falling. We get hyped up by Dixie Carter every other month that they sign somebody, this is the biggest sign, and this is going to change wrestling. And then we get shit like this, But yet we still want to believe. We still want this fucking company to succeed, and they hand us crap like this. It's like me and a couple of my friends, specifically Bunkhouse Bob Delph, at Twitter, at Bob_Delph. Look him up. He's a great guy to follow. He knows a lot about wrestling. I know me and him specifically had this conversation. Every step that TNA takes forward, they take 5 back. And to me, they walked forward a step. They started, if you look back last week, I was very positive on the show. I thought it was going in a good route. They walked 1,000 miles backwards with this. You're alienating wrestling fans by bringing in MMA. You're not bringing in MMA fans. Bellator is hurting their product because a real sport like Bellator is now tied to TNA. You start to get the suspicion of, are they going to fake it there too? Is this going to be something that sets up a wrestling angle? And the wrestling angles are going to be used to set up Bellator. So are the outcomes in Bellator fixed as well? You see where the paradox is. You're hurting both companies. You're not helping either. Both of them are coming off as second rate. TNA is second rate to WWE. Bellator is second rate to UFC. Hell, most of America know the sport of MMA, mixed martial arts. They call it UFC. Just like most of America knows wrestling as WWE. You're not advancing anything. This is not Ken Shamrock coming in and quitting MMA to become a wrestler. This is guys trying to do both, and it's not going to work. It didn't work with Bobby Lashley. King Mo, it hasn't worked yet. Rampage has looked out of place in the Aces and Eights. Tito Ortiz, he's got so many injuries, so many neck and back injuries. I can't see that he could take bumps, let alone fight in a match against Rampage Jackson. I mean, what happens when Tito fights Rampage in Bellator and Rampage breaks Tito's nose, or Tito breaks Rampage's leg? Now you got to figure out in storylines that next 6 months that we had written out for this guy, now he's got a broken leg because he just fought in a fight in MMA in Bellator. It's so fucking counterproductive. It's trying to move the needle, and I'm sure a lot of people tuned in to see what the reveal was. It was buzzing all over Twitter for the 2-3 days lead up. I honest to God wish that they would have went with Adam Pearce, that they would have went with Davey Richards, that they would have went with one of the people that it was rumored to be, instead of giving us Tito Ortiz. And like I said, I am a Tito Ortiz fan. When he fights, I cheer for him. I'm also a Rampage Jackson fan. I love watching Rampage in Pride, which was 7, 8, 9 years ago, was his prime of his career. I don't know, to me, the whole thing is going to bring down TNA and bring down Bellator and put a stamp on the end of a bad night of wrestling. Basically, there's so much more I could say, but I just don't want this to turn into a flame out. I want TNA to succeed so badly. I want there to be an alternative for when I get sick of John Cena being the world champion. I can turn on TNA and see Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, AJ Styles, some of the great wrestlers that are there. But when I turn on TNA and I see Tito Ortiz is the guy that you've hyped up, it just, I want to know how many viewers, how many fans this is going to lose, because it's not going to gain you any. The one positive that I could say from the show, and this is our normal segment that we always do every week with TNA, the Hulk Hogan Thunderlips count was 0. A big squadoosh. One positive, a whole bunch of negatives. Rude vs. Hernandez was a decent match, nothing great. Park and Bradley was very clunky. Manic and Saban was good, not great. ODB and Kim would have been a good match if they didn't have that wonky finisher. Aries and AJ, same thing. Good match, bad finish. Tito Ortiz, just, I don't know what to say. How many times am I going to come up to kick the football, and are you going to pull it out from away from me, TNA? I can't believe that once again I was snookered in by Dixie Carter and the band of idiots that are running this show. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so negative. I don't want to be negative, but I am. I have to be when it's this bad. And anyway, let me go right into our rating system. Now, you know, if you've watched our show, we have a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the best, or 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. A 1's a Jesse Goddard's, 2's a Garrett Bischoff, 3's a James Storm, 4's a Christopher Daniels, 5's a Kurt Angle. Now, I'm going to do this. We've only done this one other time where we've went off our rating scale, and that was for a WWE show that went above. We gave it an HBK, which technically would have been like rarefied air to get into that area. And there was a show the day after WrestleMania. It was above our scale. It was so good. This is the other end. This is so far below our scale that I had to create a new rating. Basically, I can't even give it a 1. It's not even good enough to be a Jesse Goddard's. This is a Shockmaster. That's all it is. It's an embarrassment to wrestling, an embarrassment to wrestling fans, and should be an embarrassment to TNA. But basically, that's all I have to say about this show. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat. Hopefully next week, it's more positive.